Hey folks, it's Rob, and welcome back to part 8 of my series on the Dungeon Master's Rulebook from the 1983 Basic Dungeons and Dragons set. Let me just dig this out here. Today, we're going to carry on with monsters. Now, you remember last time we got through a couple monsters, and then we got sidetracked into treasure, and, you know, as I do. But we left off last time with me kind of half making a bad joke about bears, and I'm not going to bother to try to do that again this time. Um, but you can see we have black, grizzly, polar, and cave bears here. Uh, the armor class, like a grizzly bear's armor class 8, while a black bear's armor class 6. And I guess a black bear would be harder to hit than a grizzly bear if a grizzly bear is trying to kill you to death. It does seem that the grizzly has only 5 hit dice versus 4 for the black bear, and I gotta say, that's kind of downgrading the grizzly. And I mean, I know now, basically, polar bears and grizzly bears are fairly genetically the same, although we didn't know that in 1983, I guess. But there's 6 hit dice. And then there's cave bears. So those are 7 hit dice, AC 5. So let's start with the black bear. AC 6, hit dice 4, move 120 feet slash 40, and that seems to be the case for all the bears. They are 2 claws, 1 bite all across the board. On the black bear, it's 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 6. So, you'd roll your d6 and split it for the 1 to 3. I got these unusual dice recently. They're coming up chest. Look, I think it's bone or something. These it was cheap and they were different, and I'm like, okay. So, D3. So that's 6, right? Divide by 2 is 3. Another D3. Oh, another 6. And then a bite of 1D6 straight. 1 point. Okay. Yeah. Number appearing 1 to 4. Save as fighter 2 again. Morale 7. So not the strictly the going to hang around forever. Treasure type U again. That's just going to be in the lair. Alignment neutral. 75 XP. Guess we'll read the thing describing them after we've gone through all the stats. So Grizzly is armor class 8, so fairly easy to hit. Hit dice 5. Move is the same, 2 claws, 1 bite. But their claws and bite are 1 to 8, 1 to 8, 1 to 10 for the bite. So that's a lot more potential damage there. Again, 1 to 4 bears appearing, and I would assume that, it's a small. Bears tend to be fairly solitary, so it might be, children, cubs. Fighter 4, so that's, considerably better save. Morale 10, yeah, they're pretty fierce. Again, treasure type U, neutral, 175 XP. The polar bear, 6 armor class, 6 hit die, 120 slash 40, 2 claws and a bite. Their 2 claws are 1 to 6, and the bite is 1 to 10. So not as damaging as the grizzly. Number appearing 1 or 1 or 2 in a lair, right? Fighter saves as fighter 3. Has a morale 8. Treasure type U again. They're still neutral, 275 XP. And then finally the cave bear, which we'll get into the description there, is AC 5, 7 hit dice, 120 slash 40, 2 claws and a bite, of course. Each claw is 2 to 8, and then 2 to 12 on a bite. So 2 to 8, of course, to get that is 2d4, right? You roll 2 4-siders. And, of course, 2 to 12 is 2d6. 1 to 2 appear in either a regular encounter or in the lair. Save as fighter 4. Morale 9. Treasure type V, which is a little different. Again, neutral, 450 XP. So let's read the descriptions. Bears are well known to all adventurers. If any bear hits one victim with both paws in one round, the bear hugs its victim and inflicts 2 to 16 points of additional damage in that same round. So, that's an extra thing you should be aware of. Of course, like if both bear claws hit, even on the black bear, it's going to put you into bear hug and do an extra 2 to 16, which is 2d8. Good way of killing a low level character, any of these bears. But, you know, one black bear. I, I just feel like the black bear's overrepresented. I grew up in Illinois. We have black bears. They're very, on a scale of bear, much smaller bear. Black bear. Black bears have black fur and stand about 6 feet tall. They are omnivores, but prefer roots and berries. Black bear will not usually attack unless it is cornered and cannot escape. Adult black bears will fight to the death to protect their young. They have been known to raid camps seeking food. They are especially fond of such treats as fresh fish and sweets. I know here in California, where I currently live, boy, howdy do they love soft drinks. Grizzly bear, which is what you're more likely to encounter here in California. Grizzly bears have silver-tip brown or reddish-brown fur and stand about 9 feet tall. They are fond of meat and are much more likely to attack than black bears. Grizzlies are found in most climates but are most common in mountains and forests. Polar bears. Polar bears have white fur and stand about 11 feet tall. They live in cold regions. They usually eat fish but are often attack adventurers. Actually, they quite often eat seals. These huge bears are good swimmers, and their wide feet allow them to run across snow without sinking. And, of course, Canadians probably know polar bears also just love human trash. But, you know, that's all. That's so many creatures. Cave bear. Cave bear is a type of giant grizzly bear which lives in caves and lost world areas. Which is very much a thing in this edition of the game. This kind of lost world, land of the lost, place where there are still dinosaurs and ancient creatures like saber-toothed tigers are still around. Definitely part of the general vibe of this version of the game. Isle of Dread, which is the module included with the expert set, is very lost world. So yeah, it stands about 15 feet tall. It's a huge bear and is the most ferocious of all the bears. Though it is an omnivore, a cave bear prefers fresh meat. It has poor eyesight, but a good sense of smell. If hungry, it will follow a track of blood until it has eaten. So that might be, it's going to be a sizable cave. It's a 15-foot tall bear. It's, a bear on all fours that's the size of a bus is coming to look for your party because they got wounded. Be careful. B, comma, giant. I do love this comma thing. Armor class 7. Hit dice, 1/2. That is 1 to 4 hit points. Move, 150/50, so they're fast, Attack, 1 sting. Damage, 1 to 3 plus special. Number appearing 1 to 6 or 5 to 30 at, well, we're going to call it a hive instead of a lair. Save as Fighter 1, Morale 9. Treasure type C below, alignment neutral, XP value 6. Well, it's a good starting monster in a way, except for the special. Giant bees are foot-long giant bees with very nasty tempers. They often attack on sight and will always attack anyone within 30 feet of their underground hive. If a giant bee attack hits, the bee dies, but the creature stung must make a save versus poison or die. Stinger will continue to work its way into the victim, inflicting 1 point of damage per round unless the round is spent pulling it out. So even if you do save against the poison, you still have to remove the stinger, or it's going to continue to work its way into you and hurt you. So that's nasty. There will always be at least 10 bees with their queen in or near the hive. At least 4 of these bees will have 1 hit die each. The queen bee will have 2 hit dice and can sting repeatedly without dying. Giant bees make magical honey if the honey of an entire hive is eaten, about 2 pints. It has the effect like a half-strength potion of healing, healing 1 to 4 points of damage, which is nice. Uh, doesn't describe how many pints of honey you would find in a hive, right? But it says an entire hive is eaten, about 2 pints. So that's what you can expect to find from apparently roughly about 10 bees. Not admittedly giant bees. And I imagine the giant bees need some giant pollen or something, but you think of that up if you want. Uh, Again, that save versus poison death on low level characters is kind of rough because honestly, your saves are quite awkward to do at this point. Beetle, giant comes in 3 flavors at this point. We have fire beetles, tiger beetles, and oil beetles. And some of these appear in the Castle Misdemeanor adventure that's earlier in the book. So on a fire beetle, armor class is 4, hit dice 1 plus 2, so you roll a d8 and add 2 points. Move 120/40. It does a bite. The bite does 2 to 8 damage. That's 2d4. Number appearing 1 to 8 or 2 to 12 in their lair. Save as fighter 1. Morale 7. No treasure of any kind. Alignment neutral. 15 XP. I'll just read that one and then we'll move to the next one. Fire beetle. Fire beetles are 2.5 feet long creatures often found below ground. They are nocturnal but may be active underground at any time. Fire beetle has 2 glowing glands above its eyes and 1 near the back of its abdomen. These glands give off light in a 10-foot radius and will continue to glow for 1 to 6 days after they are removed. Which, possibly a cunning adventurer might go, let me harvest those. And then use them to throw in places where you want some light. It's not a lot of light. It's admittedly only a 10-foot radius. But hey, maybe you want to drop it down a hole or something, right? Tiger beetle, armor class 4 again, 2 hit dice with a asterisk, so there's a special. Move 120/40, has a bite and a special attack. Damage 1 to 6 plus special. Number appearing 1 to 8 or 2 to 12 in their lair. Fighter 1 is the save as. Morale 8 instead of say 7. No treasure. Neutral 25 XP. Oil beetles. No, sorry, we're reading the tiger beetle. Tiger beetles are, and you'd think the tiger beetle would be here instead of over here. Tiger beetles are 4-foot long giant beetles with a striped carapace, a shell-like covering, which looks like a tiger's skin. They are carnivores and usually prey on robber flies. They have been known to attack and eat adventurers, crushing them with their powerful mandibles. I'm not seeing anything about a special, so I'm guessing this is mislabeled and should be the oil beetle, and the tiger beetle should be over here, which is these stats, because it is 1 bite that's 2 to 12 on a 3+1 hit die beetle with an AC of 3, right? So this is just a straight up combat beastie, while this one describes an oil beetle which has a special attack, which we were about to get into, right? So, okay. The tiger beetle then therefore is a AC 3, 3+1 hit die, 150/50 move with a bite that does 2 to 12, that is 2d6. Appears in 1 to 6 beetles or 2 to 8 at their lair. Saves as fighter 2, morale 9, treasure type U at the lair. Neutral 50 XP per beetle. The oil beetle is what we described earlier, which has that 1 to 6 plus special bite attack. Oil beetles are 3-foot long giant beetles that sometimes burrow underground when attacked. An oil beetle squirts an oily fluid at one of the attackers. A hit roll is needed. The range is 5 foot. If the oil hits, it raises painful blisters, causing a -2 penalty on the victim's hit rolls until cured by a Cure Light Wounds spell or until 24 hours have passed. If the spell is used to cure blisters, it will not also cure damage. Oil beetles can also attack with their mandibles, horn jaws. So, yeah, this is definitely in our error in the edit. These should be swapped. And yeah, these oil beetles definitely appear in Castle Misdemeanor. And boy, that Imagine how many Cure Light Wound spells your low-level party has. 0 to 1, usually. That depends on whether or not your cleric has achieved second level, basically. If they have achieved third level, you'll have maybe 2 Cure Light Wound spells. And yeah, you can easily be squirted with this oil and be stuck with a -2 penalty to your hit until you're basically arrested for an entire day. Even though the oil beetle in itself is a 2-hit die creature with a 1 to 6 bite, it can be a bit of a pain. They appear in multiples. Again, meant for a much larger party, I feel. This is just the old school version of the game where you were expected to have a group of, say, like 5 to 8 players playing, right? Berserker. This is a human, right? Berserkers. Armor class 7. Hit dice 1+1 with a star, so there's a special involvement. Move 120/40. Attack by weapon. Damage by weapon. Number appearing 1 to 6 in a general troop, or 3 to 30 at a camp. Fighter 1 is what they save as. Morale 12. So they never break morale. They are berserkers. They carry treasure type P, and their camp will have treasure type B. They are neutral and have an XP value 19. Now, berserkers are intelligent people, so you can actually communicate with them through an alignment language if necessary. Berserkers are fighters who go mad in battle. Their reactions are determined normally, but once a battle starts, they will always fight to the death, sometimes attacking their comrades in their blind rage. When fighting humans or human-like creatures, such as kobolds, goblins, or orcs, they add +2 to their hit rolls due to their ferocity. They never retreat, surrender, or take prisoners. So even though they are basically a 1+1 hit die, that you are going to add 2 to their attack rolls. And remember, that's once combat begins. They are intelligent human beings. You can negotiate with them before the combat and possibly avoid getting involved in this mess. Much like if you approached any other human being. A boar. A pretty common thing to find in a forest sometimes is a boar. Armor class 7, hit dice 3, moves 90/30, so you could outrun, conceivably, a boar. It's attacked by tusk. The damage for tusk for trying to gore you with its tusk is 2 to 8. 1 to 6 boars will appear in either a regular encounter or at their lair. They save as fighter 2. Morale 9. Treasure type nil. Alignment neutral. XP 35 XP for killing a boar. Wild boars generally prefer forested areas, but can be found nearly everywhere. They are omnivores and have extremely bad tempers when disturbed. People living in various parts of the United States will be familiar with wild boars and the menace that they pose. It's a perfectly useful thing to put on a random encounter, I feel, especially if you're not really dungeoning early on. Or maybe you got a cave and there's boars in there. Who knows? Bugbear. That's a kind of popular kind of goblinoid monster creature. Bugbears are armor class 5, hit dice 3+1. They move 90/30, so they're not so fast. They attack by weapon. Their damage is by weapon +1. So, if your regular weapon attack would be for that short sword you decide to equip it with, you roll, short sword d6, +1 on the roll, so 5 + 1 is 6 in this case. Number appearing 2 to 8 or 5 to 20. Now, bugbears, I use them sometimes as kind of like the leaders of a bunch of lesser goblinoids, as it were. So they're like, because they're bigger and they're tougher, and usually that's kind of how that works for this kind of thing, is that, the brutish, tougher ones are in charge, right? So I kind of picture in my mind, when I have 2 to 8 bugbears, that they are kind of a breeding group of bugbears, a small clan of them or a small troop of them. Who knows what the actual proper nomenclature would be? Up to you, I guess. You're the DM. but 2 to 8 in the field, 5 to 20 in a lair. Save as fighter 3, morale 9, treasure type P and Q on the bugbear, and then they will have a B at their lair. They are chaotic, which I think is our first chaotic creature monster so far, XP 75. Bugbears are giant hairy goblins. Despite their size and awkward walk, they move very quietly and attack without warning whenever they can. They surprise on a roll of 1 to 3 on 1d6 due to their stealth. When using weapons, they add +1 to all hit and damage rolls because of their strength. So in addition to the using D3 reference, you're going to add +1 to their hit rolls. Keep that in mind as well. This is why you make notes when you're setting up your encounters, right? And again, this is not something I would throw at my first level party, but maybe this is towards the end of clearing that goblin layer out of the second or third level of the dungeon, and there are some bugbears who happen to be in charge of the place or just being catered to by the goblins because they're useful mercenaries to have around. A cooperative relationship of some form, even if it is more parasitic. Carrion Crawler. The ever popular Carrion Crawler. I've talked about it so many times. Armor class 7. Not to make a big spoiler, but this is one of the first monsters you'd encounter at Castle Mistamere. Carrion Crawler's armor class 7. Hit dice 3+1 asterisk. Move 120/40. Attacks with 8 tentacles. The damage is paralysis. So you don't get hurt when touched by one of the tentacles. You're just simply paralyzed. 1 to 4 appear. There's no lair, per se. They save as fighter 2. Their morale is 9. Their treasure type B. Alignment neutral. XP value 75. So this scavenger is 9 foot long, 3 foot high, many-legged worm. It can move equally well on a floor, wall, or ceiling, which I think maybe I forget about sometimes. They can move on ceilings. Its small mouth has been surrounded by 8 tentacles, which each 2 feet long, which can paralyze on a successful hit unless a saving throw versus paralysis is made. A tentacle hit does no actual damage. Once paralyzed, the victim will be eaten unless the carrion crawler is being attacked. Unless magically cured, the paralysis will wear off after 2 to 8 turns. That's like 20 to 80 minutes. Carrion crawlers are not normally found outside of dungeons. They're one of the scavengers of the dungeon, really, right? And yeah, I could totally see one dropping onto the party from the ceiling, right? That they failed to notice, they're not watching for. But like I said, it's 8 attacks. I prefer to use the 8 attacks on one subject at a time because it really is the carrion crawler needs to be facing a target, right? Not just oh, I can attack all the things around me because I happen to have 8 attacks. That mitigates some of the danger of this creature, because if it could just attack 8 separate party members with paralysis, this could be a total party kill because everyone failed their paralysis save and no one can fight the carrion crawler and it just eats you all while you're paralyzed. Kind of crazy. Doesn't make a lot of sense that way when I say it that way, doesn't it? So use it intelligently. Don't throw lots of these at a party without some options to deal with them. Next up is cat, great. Cats will tell you that they're all great, honestly. We have 5 flavors: mountain lion, panther, lion, tiger, and saber-toothed tiger. Again, going with that Lost World vibe I was talking about. Hopefully these are in the right places this time. That would be nice. So, mountain lion, AC 6, hit dice 3+2, move 150/50. You can't outrun it. Attacks 2 claws and a bite. The claws are 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 6 for the bite. 1 to 4 will appear. That could be a small pack of mountain lions, but they tend to be kind of solitary in my opinion. Fighter, 2 is the save. Morale 8. Treasure type U in the lair. They're neutral, and they have 50 XP if you defeat a mountain lion. In the description, the mountain lion is this tawny furred species lives mostly in mountainous regions, but also inhabits forests and deserts. They will wander further into dungeons than any other species of great cat. Okay. And I guess we'll read this block here, and then we'll get back to moving through these others. The great cats are normally cautious and will avoid fights unless forced by extreme hunger or when trapped with no escape route. Though they may be found in a relaxed or even playful mood, they are subject to rapid and violent changes of temper. Well, I mean, we've all met cats. They often develop a fondness for one type of food and will go out of their way to hunt down that type of prey. The great cats rarely go deeply into caves and usually remember a quick escape route to an outdoors. Despite their shyness, they are very inquisitive and may follow a party out of curiosity. They will always chase a fleeing prey. So, it gives you some hints as to how to use these. Panther, AC 4, hit dice 4. The move is faster, 210/70. 2 claws and a bite, of course. It's always going to be 2 claws and a bite. It's a freaking cat. Claws are 1 to 4. Bite is 1 to 8. 1 to 2 appear. Fairly solitary. In the lair, 1 to 6. Fighter 2 is the save. Again, morale 8. Treasure type U, neutral. 75 XP for the Panther. Because it is, higher hit dice. Panthers are found on plains, forests, and open shrublands. They are extremely quick and can outrun most prey over short distances. Lion. Lions are AC 6, so, equal to hit with the mountain lion. Not as easy to hit, easier to hit than the panther. Hit dice 5, 150/50, so again, like the mountain lion. 2 claws and a bite, like the mountain lion. Their attacks for claws are 2 to 5, 2 to 5, and 1 to 10 for the bite. Now, 2 to 5 is a D4 plus 1. And obviously 1 to 10 is just a D10. The number appearing are 1 to 4. You have a pride of lions, and they could conceivably have a lair where 1 to 8 appear. Could be even just a solitary lion that has a lair, right? They save as fighter 3. Their morale is 9, fairly fierce, as you might expect a lion to be. Treasure type U, they're neutral, 175 XP for defeating a lion. Lions generally live in warm climates and thrive in savanna and brush lands near deserts. They usually hunt in groups known as prides, indeed. Let's see, tigers, armor class 6, hit dice 6. Move 150/50, 2 claws to bite. The claws are D6 each, and the bite is 2D6. Number appearing 1. They will always be solitary when found wild, and a lair may be 1 to 3. Save as fighter 3, morale 9, treasure type U, neutral, 275 XP. Tigers are the largest of the commonly found great cats. They prefer cooler climates and wooded lands where their striped bodies offer some degree of camouflage, useful when hunting. They often surprise their prey on a roll of 1 to 4 on a D6 when in woodlands. So yeah, that just leaps out, attacks the party because it decides that you're the ones it wants to eat. Must be a fairly desperate tiger at that point. Probably more likely a tiger would avoid the party. But, maybe it's got a taste for human flesh. Who knows? Or elf. Or dwarf. Saber-toothed tiger. Armor class 6. Hit dice 8. 8 hit dice. 150/50, 2 claws and a bite. The claws are D8 each, and the bite is 2D6. 1 to 4 appear in either the wild or in the lair. Saves as fighter 4. Morale 10. Treasure type V, not U, V. They are neutral. And 650 XP for defeating a saber-toothed tiger. Saber-toothed tigers are the largest and most ferocious of the great cats. They are oversized fangs from which they get their name. Fortunately, saber-toothed tigers are mostly extinct except for lost world areas. So again, you're not going to just find one outside of town unless the town happens to be in some kind of weird village in a lost world scenario, like on the Isle of Dread or certain other remote parts of Mystara. Or maybe you decided that something like that is in nearby, you know? Maybe everything's more primitive in your setting. I don't know. It's up to you. You're the DM, aren't you? Right. Centipede, comma, giant. Armor class 9. Hit dice 1/2. That's a D, 1 to 4 hit points, really. Uh, you could roll the D8 and have it, or you could just roll a D4. Your call, really. I don't think anyone cares about like the dynamic curves versus like having a D8 versus rolling a D4. Um, Move 60/20. They have a bite. Their damage is poison. 2 to 8 will appear in general, but 1 to 8 in a lair. Save as normal man. Morale 7. Treasure type nil. Alignment neutral. XP value 6. A giant centipede is a foot-long insect with many legs. Centipedes prefer dark, damp places. The bite does no damage, but the victim must make a saving throw versus poison or become violently ill for 10 days. Characters who do not make their saving throws move at half speed and will not be able to perform any other physical action. They are basically too ill to fight. So, these are easy to defeat, but will someone be incapacitated by the centipede? And will they be incapacitated for literally days? 10 days, a week and a half. That's a lot to knock somebody out of play. Also, a good explanation as to why, Fred's character's not in the game this week, because he's been bitten by a centipede and really can't participate. Doppelganger. Armor class 5, hit dice 4, asterisk. Move 90/30. They have 1 attack, which does 1 to 12 damage. The number appearing are 1 to 6. They save as fighter, says 8 foot, which, I'm thinking this is a small error. Morale 8. Treasure type E. They are chaotic. XP value 125. These man-sized, shape-changing creatures are intelligent and evil. A doppelganger is able to shapeshift into the exact form of any human-like creature it sees up to 7 feet tall. Once it is in the form of the person it is imitating, it attacks that person. Its favorite trick is to try to kill an original person in some way without alerting the party. Then, in the role of that individual, it attacks the others by surprise, often when they are already engaged in combat. Sleep and charm spells do not affect doppelgangers, and they make all saving throws as fighter 8, so it restates that, due to their highly magical nature. When killed, a doppelganger turns back into its original form, which it does not describe to you. So yeah, the tricky kind of thing to introduce to the party, right? Maybe someone's off by themselves and they get attacked by the doppelganger, and Fred's character was eliminated, replaced now with a doppelganger. Oh, the dragon section is big. We're at 33 minutes. I guess that's where I'm going to stop for now. And we'll just get into dragons next time in detail, because there's, boy howdy, is there plenty about dragons here. Almost 2 full pages, considering how much they usually attribute to a monster. That's a lot of info and a lot of stuff to get through. But yeah, this is like, your goal. You're going to want to get to some dragons at some point, right? They're like, when am I going? We got the dungeon. When we get the dragon? Dragons, right? What's going to stop me from buying stupid shit? I don't know. Look at this. Look, it lights up. I swear. These are rechargeable, like a pair of earbuds. The one goes in the bottom in this case, and I think I need to kind of orient it. Yeah, like that. There. So I just, you know, I mean, I didn't pay much for them, but like, I don't know what I was thinking sometimes. I guess it's because I didn't have any. But then that didn't stop me from buying this in the Prime Day sale, did it? No. It's a disease, kids. You just never stop buying dice. That's my warning to you, is that they make room in your life for just more and more dice. Because it's not a bad set, I will say. Two large D20s, four D6s, a D4, two D10s, the 10 and the single digit, a D12, a D8. It's basically a full set of everything that you really would need. Um, and that's really what I got it for. There's others just junk in here, but it's also a functioning dice box. I guess I like a deal sometimes. I don't know. This came today. Anyhow, that's enough me going on about dice. I mean, just dice. So much. I didn't even set this up. I just happen to have these on the desk. Look. I pulled these out of the desk drawer when I was cleaning earlier in the week, and they're on the desk, and they're nice. I like them. I'm really, these are quite nice. Really, really pretty. Did I need them? No. Do I need any more sets of dice? No. No, I don't. I really don't. Do I have more dice? Yes, I definitely do. Someone send help. I swear. Anyhow, we'll get to the dragons next time, I promise. Thank you very much for your attention and time. I hope you all have a great day. Goodbye.